Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of Spunky Spirit. I am psychic medium Carrie Muggs, and today we are going to talk about when things get heavy and how to see the signs, because I am not going to pretend it's not happening, right? I don't want to do spiritual bypassing. I have so many people reaching out right now, more than I ever have in the past, of how things are so hard right now and how things are so chaotic and how they feel alone. And this is just, there's so much more to this than just the political stance of the United States. There's just so much in a world, like in the world there is, the holidays are coming. There's just so much. And even I have felt it, like even with this whole thing with my granddaughter, with the Snelly thing and how the community pulled together. And I just know all of my family is feeling this heaviness, and all of my clients are feeling this heaviness. And as much as I want to be the positive face that you see, or I want to bring you the joy of each day, and I want to help you get through each day, I also don't want to pretend that this isn't happening, and that people feel alone, especially during the holidays, and people feel alone right now, or things are chaotic and they're scared. People are scared of, the future, or what's going to become of it, or, they have anxiety about this, and again, this isn't a political thing. This is just about life in general. It's just been really hard lately. And so this episode is to remind you that it's not just you. This is a collective thing. Lots of people are feeling it. But me saying it's not just you doesn't mean it doesn't matter, because like I said in this week's Carrie Connects, it does matter, and you do matter. And just because everybody else is going through something doesn't mean what you're going through doesn't make a lot of, doesn't count, because it does. Because what happens is we just keep putting it out there as a collective of how stressful it is and how anxious it is, and then it just gets worse, and because what we focus on creates more. And so, and it's really hard, because when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the middle of it, it's super hard not to focus on it, right? Especially when you're dealing with like other people's things. If you're dealing with, like my daughter Nellie and her heart issues, it's hard not to focus on it, because it consumes a lot of you. And so it's hard, because a lot of people are out there, and they say don't focus on it. What you focus on, becomes more. But there's just some things in your life that become so hard sometimes that's what you focus on. And it's hard, especially if you're like me and you have a little bit of, some ADHD and sometimes intrusive thoughts things, then it's hard to just rewind that stuff. And this is probably where we're going into a little bit of mental health. So if you are really struggling with intrusive thoughts and depression, you can call, I think the number now is 981. I think there's a hotline. It's just I can't remember. I'll post it down at the bottom. But if you do need extra help, and it is there for everybody, and everybody, don't feel like you're a failure if you have to use this, or if you have to have counseling, or if you have to go to counseling. Counseling is for everybody. I'm 100% on counseling is for everybody. But mostly I want you to know that you're not alone, and you do got this, and you have had some hard things in your life, and you've still made it to this point. And Earth can be hard, and Earth is hard, but we also can band together and help each other. And sometimes if you feel alone and you don't want help, or you can't really help, sometimes you can't help people because you're so lost in it yourself that you can't. And just remember too, there's a season when you get to help people. I remember when I had little tiny kids, I had 4 kids under the age of 8, I think. And it was hard physically hard. And I remember people saying, oh, just wait till they're teenagers. And I would seriously almost start crying because I'm like, if it gets harder than this, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's just a different hard, right? It's just children, little children are very much more physical, where teenagers are much more emotional. But it's also, and that's why I want you to know too that people can say, they can tell you, don't, I don't even know how I'm trying to say this, because I just want you to know that sometimes other people's heart is not your heart. So other people struggle with maybe having teenagers, but that might not be your struggle. So just because somebody says this is a struggle or this is, don't put it out there. Don't put it out there that it is, because it might not be. It might be okay for you. It might be something that's a little not as hard for you as others, but there will be something else out there that's just as hard for you as teenagers were for them. So when we get to the other side, we're going to see how incredibly even it actually was, and we don't feel like it is on earth because we see other people going through things, but it is incredibly even because everybody's heart is different, and I want you to remember that. But just because everybody's heart is different and some people seem to be handling things better than what you might, doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Or because I know a lot of people are like, well, I shouldn't feel this way because so and so's going through this or so and so's going through that. It doesn't matter, because your heart is different than their heart. So you need to give yourself grace on this and know that your heart is different than other people's hearts. But what I really want you to know is you're not alone. Spirit has got you, and Spirit is with you. And I'm going to kind of tell you some stories of how I see Spirit when I'm going through some hard times, because it hasn't been like super easy peasy for me lately either. I just don't want to be that. I don't want to bring you down in already a hard situation. And I know everybody's feeling it. So when we were going through this thing with Nellie, I had some hard times. There were times when I had confirmation that things were going to be okay, and that things were going to, but Spirit has a different okay, right? Okay to Spirit is different than okay to us because of lots of different reasons. And so I remember on the way, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that like on the way to the hospital when she was having her surgery, that I was behind a random license plate that said LUV 777. And I knew that was my dad reaching out to me and saying, we've got this, it's going to be okay. But then there was a hard situation, and I've had other validations that Spirit came through and said, this is going to be okay, like just confirmation. But it's harder for me to read the confirmations for my own family because I'm so personally invested. But I had some other instances with other mediums that they came through and said it's going to be okay. Just because when life is, hard, I also get readings, and they, not from anyone around. Anyways, I also get readings once in a while, about every 6 months, just to validate where I'm at too, right? And so, anyways, I got validation from these two mediums also that things were going to be okay. But I know that when Spirit says okay, it can be their okay is different than our okay, right? Because to them, if Nellie didn't make it through the surgery and went and passed over and transitioned, then they would think that was okay because she would be with them, right? And that's not okay for me. So anyways, this is when you have to realize you're kind of out of control. Like you don't have control of this situation. But I had confirmations that it was going to be okay. So, but there were 2 times in the hospital while she was having her surgery that were not okay. And I did not know if it was going to be okay. And watching my son fall apart during those times was super hard. And I actually got mad at Spirit. And I was like, because you can get mad. You can get mad at Spirit. You can be mad. You have that. Your feelings matter. And if anybody understands it, Spirit's going to understand it. More than any of your friends or your family, Spirit's going to understand it because they know what you're going through. Because most likely, the trials and the tribulations that you go through, Spirit has, one of your guides has had that experience on earth, because they have to be your guide. Your guides have to have been on earth to know what you're going through. So, and most likely things that are going on in your life, there are going to be guides for that certain situation. So I kind of like went to the meditation room and I got mad. I was like, and it's so funny because when my son went to the meditation room, he bargained. I had already done the bargaining before when we found out that she had this issue. I had already been like, take me instead, do this. And this is where I'd gotten my confirmation that things were going to be okay. But my son during this hard time of the surgery where we didn't know, it was kind of iffy. He did the bargaining. He did the bargaining there. And I did the, what the heck? You told me things were going to be okay. You told me this. And I kind of like lost trust for a minute. I was just kind of frustrated and mad. And to be honest, what we were worried about in that situation is something that we shouldn't have been worried about. It was just something we had assumed. We had created fear. We had, just because we didn't get the update that we wanted, we had created that fear. Now it was validated that during that specific time that her surgery there was some struggle. She was struggling to get off the bypass machine. So it is just so funny how that correlated at the same time. But I almost a little bit lost faith because I'm like, you told me. And I just was like, I need to not question this, because then about 20 minutes later, they got the call that it was okay, that she had got off the bypass machine. Then there was one other time too that that I had kind of questioned, like, what's really going on, and that was a really hard time too. But that was also a mistake. We had questioned some stuff that were on some of the doctor's plans, but they had read it wrong. So here I was questioning spirit, when in reality, the people are who I should have been questioning, right? Like, I need to trust and surrender to spirit. And always know, what if this is for my highest good? I actually love these word bracelets. And if you can't see them, they're just little word bracelets that have like different sayings on them. And one of mine says, what if? What if this is for your highest good? What if this is supposed to bring you closer to God? What if this is, I mean, during my divorce, that I would have been like, no way is this bringing me closer. The whole what if thing didn't even exist for me back there, because it was such a freaking trial for me, and being alone, and I felt abandoned, and raising my poor kids by myself. And no way would I have ever said, what if this is for the highest good? What if? Because no loss or no grief is what you think is for your highest good, right? And so I guess you have to ask yourself, how am I going to come out of this? How am I, if my worst fear does happen, how can I come out of this positively? How can I react this? Don't just let things happen to me. How can I react to it? And I get it. When you're in the middle of it, it sucks. I get it. But what I want you to know is, during these times, the moral of the story is, when I was at the lowest part of Nellie's surgery, I was not alone. I knew Spirit was with me. I had so many signs all around me. I had the different songs that would come on. I had the license plate number. I would see 777 all the time. I had friends just reach out of the blue and bring us dinner. Like, it was Spirit was behind the scenes the whole time. And I questioned it the whole time. And in another instance too, and this is how I'm kind of wanted to explain to you, you're not alone. But when you're in the grief of it, and you're in the thick of it, and you're in the middle of it, you don't see the signs, because you're so focused on the issue at hand that you don't really see the signs around you to let you know that you're not alone, and Spirit's got your back. That's why I love doing Carrie Connects, because it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than, this is what's going to happen this week, this is your future. It's like, this is what's going to happen this week, and this is your signs and symbols to let you know Spirit's got you. Spirit's helping you through this specific trial. And that's why I love Carrie Connect so much, is because it shows you the signs and the symbols to watch for that week, because Spirit's going to be with you saying, we've got this. And so I kind of want to give you a little bit of story about when I was in North Carolina. I have also been going through some other stuff that's like not related to Nellie. That feels heavy. Just some business stuff, and just some stuff around, just me trying to progress, or me trying to get better, and always wondering which route what that looks like for me. And sometimes you just think, why why not, why bother? Because I love doing what I do, but sometimes there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. And so, you question sometimes, or sometimes I do the same thing. I do overwhelm, and I don't, I get too involved in some of the readings, and I carry the grief, or I carry that with me. And so I went to North Carolina, and I was trying to just, okay, what direction do I want to go? And I do this every year, every October. If you notice, if you follow me, every October, because to me, October is my new year. It's not January. I hit January going with a bang. October is when things start over for me, or when I reevaluate things. And last October, I had a tumor and I had to reevaluate. I had to do simplicity. This time, I'm like, okay, what do I want? How far do how many people do I want to help? What does that look like? Where does this go? Like, what is this for me? What does this look like? Or is it just, what it is? Is it just staying where I'm at? And if you know me, I'm not good at staying complacent or staying comfortable. I always like to grow and move, and keep moving forward and keep progressing and reaching goals. But sometimes you get tired, right? So I was in North Carolina kind of trying to figure this out, and I was with some good company, did some readings there, did some work, but I was also with two of my friends from high school. And this is a time where we just kind of bounce stuff off each other, things that are going on in our life. And so I was kind of wondering where my projection was, or what, if kind of having am I good enough moment, I guess, not cause it's one of those things, look how far you've come. Not anyways, it is what it is. But that day that I kind of was like revamping things and thinking, okay, because it was a little bit of a business trip. I went for a walk on the beach, and I had my earphones on, and there was this awesome experience. Like, the wind was kind of blowing towards me, so the sand was going towards me. The ocean waves were amazing. It was the most spiritual, like one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. Like, me walking barefoot on the beach, being grounded. And I know we all don't get a beach, right? But this was just, and there was this song that came on, and it's called "The Monster" by Andy Grammer. And it says, word for word, there's a monster in me that has been asleep, but now it's waking up. Like, and it keeps saying, you were made for more. In fact, I'm actually going to get a bracelet that says you were made for more. And it says there's a spirit, and I'm trying to hear it. And it says you're made for more. I mean, it was like everything I needed. It was everything I needed at that time. It was Spirit's way of saying, you have got to keep moving. Like, we've got big plans for you. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. I don't really still know what that looks like, but I'm just going to trust Spirit, right? Because I've learned, the one thing I've learned through this whole thing is you trust Spirit. You trust and you surrender and you give away the control. And even though as much as I try and plan it out, Spirit's got its own agenda sometimes, and I work for Spirit. So that song came on and I lost it. Like, I just felt this calmness, and I handed it over to, I'm surrendering it to Spirit, and it's awesome. And then that night, so I remember the story. The song is called "The Monster." So then on the way home on the plane, we were watching different videos. I was watching my, because on Delta they have those things where you watch different movies. And my husband was watching a movie, and I was watching, of course, Practical Magic, because that's one of my favorite movies. And I look over to his, and there's this big, huge, I don't know what he's watching. I think he's watching Imaginary Friends. And there's this big purple monster, like monster in the movie. He's cute. He's this cute, funny monster. And he is trying to, I guess, this is what my husband told me, but all I see is this monster's touching this man besides him, his shoulder, and he's trying to, and then the monster starts to glow. The monster starts to glow. And I asked my husband, it's because the man was starting to remember his imaginary friend. So in my kind of view, the man was starting to remember who he was, because we all have this imaginary friend. We all have this spirit guide that's with us. We all have this imaginary friend. To me, is a spirit guide. And ironically, it was a monster, right? So to me, a lot of people would have just looked at that and been like, oh, they wouldn't even put the two together. But I know Spirit well enough, and I've been doing this long enough. To me, that was a sign. Remember the monster. And monster sounds bad, but it's not. there's this spirit inside me, and there's something inside me, and I need to keep moving, because I was made to do more. I was made to do more. Whatever that is, I was made to do more. So that was one of the signs. And then we get home and we're driving down the street, and the billboard sign for the gas station says Monster. And it's like, I know it was Monsters on sale, like the Monster energy drink, but I had never seen like the words Monster on this billboard before. And I was like, okay, and then the next morning when I woke up, I was scrolling like Instagram. First thing, I was looking at Instagram because I think I was supposed to be posting Carrie Connects. And the first thing that shows up is a little stuffed animal monster, a little monster that was purple and it was matched. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get what you're trying to tell me. And even though I'm scared, and even though things are, it's crazy, I get it. I get that I need to keep moving. I need to keep pushing. I need to keep doing this. I get it. And I know that something bigger is coming, and I have to get ready for it. I have to get ready for it. So a lot of people would see all those signs and just think that they're coincidences, right? They're not. So in this time of heaviness, find the signs. Find your sign. To me, I would never in a million years think it was a monster, right? Never in a million years would I think that my sign is the monster. And I have to be honest, when I was getting when I was getting some, me, I totally believe in foot zones, because feet are where my energy goes in and out of. And she's my Nicole, she works in my office, said to me, "What are you imagining right now?" And I'm like, honestly, there's a big purple monster. Like, I feel like there's a big purple monster. And she started laughing. We both kind of laughed. And then I realized, oh my gosh, that's all of this is tying up in all of it was tying up together. So this monster, actually, this cute big purple monster that can be fierce and can be cute, actually kind of created its own life. So it kind of created its own like spiritual resemblance for me. So now I feel like, I don't know what guide took on this form, but I feel like whatever guide is in charge of me going forward and moving forward took on the form of this big purpley monster, to like know that this can be fun and it's not scary. And it symbolizes that the magic inside of me, because you have everything you need inside of you. And the monster, you were made for more. And there's a monster in me that has been asleep, but now he's waking up. So this whole monster thing is just kind of given me more purpose, more energy. And now I see monster signs like all the time. And part of it can be that, you buy a red car and then you see more red cars. But not in the beginning, it wasn't. Not in the beginning. At the beginning, it was Spirit saying, this is the answer. This is where you're going. And so I want you to be aware of these synchronicities, these signs, because this is how Spirit lets you know they're with you, especially when things are heavy. Because when things are heavy and you're in grief and you're at a lower frequency, just because you're in grief and the collective is kind of at a lower frequency right now, it's just kind of heavy, then they're going to show you other signs and symbols, right? They're going to bring through this information in other ways. And so they're going to try and get your attention. And a lot of times people dismiss it, because everything that I just mentioned, people would have just been like, oh, this is a cool song, and just been in that moment. Then they would have seen the monster on the TV and they would have been like, oh, that's they wouldn't have put the two together. Then the monster on the billboard, they wouldn't have put that together. They just would have kept going, saying, they wouldn't even, but that's how Spirit works. You have to be aware. You have to be aware of the signs. You have to be aware of what's around you. And you're not just looking for them either. These came up all randomly for me. I didn't say, I'm going to see a monster today. Like, I didn't. It just came up all randomly. So there is signs in they are around, and Spirit has got you, and Spirit is with you, and they're not going to leave you. And if you can't figure out the signs, ask Spirit to show you, or ask Spirit a certain sign. Say, I want my sign to be an owl. I want my sign for this to let you know you're with me to be this. And I kid you not, you're going to start seeing so many of those owls that you're going to be like, is this just me? But it's not. And that's what happens. We get to this point where like, I think it's just me. I'm just making it up now. No. It is still them. You just are awakened and you're seeing the signs now. And so you open up to that. And so you see it more. And I know there is this thing where if you're looking for a certain amount of, it has a certain name to it. And if you're looking for a certain car, then you can start to see those cars. You kind of you manifest it. That's what's happening. You're manifesting it. And people can make up any excuse they want to and say, well, you're just more aware of that car now because you have it. But you can also manifest it. So don't just trust Spirit. Trust that Spirit's got you here. This is Spirit's going to help you get through the holidays. This is going to get better. It's going to get better, right? And it might not get better the way you think it's going to get better, but it's going to get better. And what if this is for your highest good? Even though it hurts right now and it's painful, what if this is for your highest good? And I'm not talking about the loss of somebody or somebody dying here, because that's just, there's no what if that's for your highest good or not, especially when you're going through it. You just don't want to hear that shit, right? So, but also just know that trust Spirit, surrender to Spirit. I have learned this year that it's the most amazing thing. And then I did kind of have, I wasn't going to share this, but I did kind of have a little bit of a medical thing happen during this whole Nelly thing. And I just was like, it's going to be fine because I got to focus on other things, right? And I went to actually go get it looked at this last Friday, and they thought maybe they would have to do surgery, and they didn't, because it's gone. It's gone. So trust. And the thing about it is I don't want anybody to feel bad because mine was gone and theirs isn't. We all have our different trials. We all have different things we have to get through, and my heart is different than your heart. And my trials and my journey is going to be different from yours. So don't compare those. Don't say, well, they have it harder, they're doing this. Their heart is different than ours. You don't know what they've done in other lives or past lives or in their past that they are having this trial instead. So that's why we don't compare, because it makes us feel less than, or it makes us feel superior. And that does not exist. Superior and inferiority does not exist. So I really hope that helps you guys. You are not alone, and Spirit is with you. And I just wanted to give you a medium's perspective of how signs and symbols come through, because it's not like we see a guide sitting next to us in our car talking to us. It's exactly how everybody else sees it. We just know where to see the signs. We know how Spirit works, and we're just more aware of it, right? So just be more aware. Look at all the things. I say this all the time. The Native Americans believe that there are signs everywhere, and they're everywhere. You just have to be aware of them. So take a deep breath, breathe in and out, and know that this too shall pass, and it's going to be okay. So if you can just get through the next minute, the next second, the next hour, the next day, and if you really don't think you can, please reach out. And I think, I'm not 100% positive, but I think the hotline to reach out is 981, but I will double check that and look at the show notes and post it in the show notes if I'm wrong. And know that it's hard to do this alone. It is hard to do this alone. And so reach out to somebody that has capacity to hold that for you. And remember, you're always, your spirit team is always with you. You always are having guidance with them, and they will never leave you alone. So I love you guys so much. I do have some way cool things coming in January and coming next year. I am starting Instagram lives that I'm going to be doing throughout December and November. I do have a chakra class this week on Saturday that has a few openings, and this is going to be a deep dive in the chakras. It's not like a beginning balance. It's not like a beginning chakra class. It's like a deep dive, and there's more added chakras to it. Like the heart chakra there's 3 more chakras added to the original 7. We're going to talk about that. And also too, coming up, I'm going to be doing spirit circles again. And next year, I'm going to be doing spirit circles again. And I am going to be doing like a different kind of live where you can call in and get readings. That is in the works. That's in the works. So good things are coming because there is a monster in me that is waking up. A good one that tells me you are made for more. You are made for more. Keep going. You got this. So I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys next week.